The reason I got my goal was because I set the goal and I was willing to put myself out there and fail and try and look stupid and get rejected again and again and again. And then suddenly the thing happened. Nothing happens if we just don't take action. We are not gonna have to experience that discomfort of all of that failure and rejections. So we can be comfortable. But is comfortable really the life that we wanna live? I could have easily gotten a free education in Denmark and lived a comfortable, happy life there, because people who live in Denmark, they're comfortable and happy. But I wanted something different, and I was willing to put myself out there to do that, as I know you are in different areas that you're passionate about.
Hi, my name is Pernilla, and this is my Challenge Your Norm podcast. I'm absolutely obsessed with anything related to personal development, and well, to grow, we gotta challenge our norm. And so on this podcast, we chat about life and how we can challenge our normal way of living it to make it greater than we could have ever imagined. Just one little belief, habit, bold move, and challenge at a time.
Hello, my beautiful friend, and welcome back to another episode here on my Challenge Your Norm podcast, where today we're talking the unsexy truth about how I have achieved my successes. When I was 19 years old, I had purchased a ticket to LA. For the first time, I was going to visit and live in Los Angeles for 6 months. I'd gotten a 6-month travel visa. And when I arrived, I fell in love with the city and the opportunities and dreams that being here allowed me to dream about and open my eyes to how life could look. And when I came here, I had no resume that would be good enough for me to ever get a work visa. However, the longer I stayed here, the more I was exposed to the lifestyle here. I knew that this was my home. I needed to find a way to live here. And I visited multiple lawyers, spoke with friends who had gotten a work visa, and my chances were pretty much zero to ever be able to get a work visa with my current resume, my financial situation, because I was broke AF, was living on savings that I had saved up while living in Denmark. But I was committed. I was committed to find a way, because for me, this was my plan A and there was no plan B. This was what I wanted. And I was not willing to take no as an answer. I was told that I needed to have an agency here in the States. I did not have an agency. I needed recommendation letters. I did not have recommendation letters. I needed a kick-ass resume proving that I am an extraordinary talent. If you are new to my podcast, I was dancing at the time. And so I came to the US to pursue dance. And I had done tiny little dance things in Denmark, but nothing that was extraordinary or that I'd gotten paid well for, and just not really anything worthy of me proving that I was an extraordinary talent, which is what you need to be in order for you to get an O1 visa, which is an artist visa. And I would get the specific artist visa for dancing. And the lawyer said no. My friends who I spoke with who had spent years on trying to get a work visa was like, yeah, this is a bitch. This is a hard process. Like, there's no way that you can get that at this point because you don't really have anything of what you need. So because I was so committed, I thought, okay, the first thing I need to do is to somehow be able to prove that I am an extraordinary talent. And in order for you to do that, you have to build up your resume. And what my lawyers that I spoke to shared, as well as the people who had done this process, was they had gone back to their home countries where they were allowed to work for years to build up that resume, to prove that, oh, I'm an extraordinary talent. Please allow me to get an artist visa here in the States. So I was committed to build up my resume, but I did not want to go back to Denmark and spend years on building my resume. So I asked every single human that I came across if they had a job for me. And this is really my main point of sharing this podcast episode. And I have many examples of this that I want to share with you. Because what I did in that moment, I myself, as well as I believe every other human on this planet, are afraid of rejection. and failure and looking stupid. Because when you put yourself out there and ask for whatever it is that you want, the likelihood of rejection and failure and looking like a fool, they're high. It's a lot easier to just accept what others are telling you is possible and not possible. But if you want something bad enough, I'm sure in your life you've wanted something crazy bad and you've been wanting that more than you've been afraid of being rejected, of failure, of looking stupid. And so I asked every single human I came across to see if they had a job for me. And after, a long time, I had a choreographer friend in the US who had lived in China for a little bit and performed on stages over there. And so he had a connection with an agency in China. And the crazy things happen when you set a goal, when you set your mind to something. It's as if when you do that and then you take massive action and you do not get up after 10 rejections, 50 rejections, hundreds of rejections. It's as if at one point the universe, God, energy, force brings you the exact thing you need, because the agency that I got connected with were hiring. And this was one of the biggest agencies in all of China that worked with some of the biggest artists in all of China. And what they were hiring for were background dancers for some of these biggest shows in China. And the beauty of that was that I went to China, I brought a friend, and we traveled for, it was supposed to be 6 months, but it ended up just being 4 months, which another blessing. And in these only 4 months, as in not years, like everyone had told me it was going to take, in these 4 months, I got to perform with some of China's biggest artists, which meant that I was performing at TV shows where millions of viewers were watching, which when you show that on your resume that you performed in front of millions and millions and millions of people in all of these different shows for all of these massive artists, it's a pretty good look. And so I went to China after all of those hundreds of rejections, right? I went to China. I built up my resume. I came back to the US on my tourist visa and started speaking with my lawyer about this. And he was like, oh, wow, we actually have something now. Then I needed a dance agency. I didn't have a dance agency. So I went to so many auditions. And at these open call agency auditions, there are hundreds of dancers trying to get in with these agencies. And I got no's and no's and no's and no's until one day I go to an audition and I was one of the finalists who got a spot at this agency. Great. I now had an agency. I then needed recommendation letters and a bunch of other things like getting a visa in the US, unless you have like a sponsorship from a business that's like, I want this specific person, then it's very, very hard. But I got some recommendation letters, which was for different choreographers that I had been working with, as in taking their classes while I was in the US visiting. And then I needed to prove that I had enough of an income living here. So I had to book a job. And again, reached out to everyone. But then suddenly an opportunity came my way. My friend, who is a choreographer who I still see to this day, she was the choreographer for an artist who was going on a little tour, a little US tour. And she hired me as one of the female dancers, 2 females, 2 males. And that was my job. And so a couple of years later, this whole process did take a couple of years. I got my artist visa. And it was a result of me again and again and again getting no's. This is not possible. You can't do this. And me not accepting that. And the reason I wanted to start off with that story is because I just came back from a week in New York where I did different things. I went on podcasts. I toured around. I went to the new Gymshark store, which I'm very grateful for. I was reached out to by a Gymshark representative. They wanted to do a little 3-month trial, and there's someone who I've wanted to work with for a long time, which we'll get into as well later. But it's very exciting because you can now use my code Pernella and get a discount on Gymshark's site. And they actually do have a 70% off sale going live tomorrow when this episode comes out. So if you want to get up to 70% off Gymshark, then you can go there now. And then if you use my code Pernella, which is very supportive if you do that, because then there's a chance that we get to work together for a longer time, then yeah, you can get 70% plus, or up to 70% off plus an additional 10% if you use my code Pranal. However, I was in New York and I went to a Tony Robbins event, which is something that I've wanted to do for so long. And I saw that he was doing this event in New York and I just jumped on it and I decided to go. And, we do a lot of different exercises and have different experiences when you're at a Tony Robbins event. But one of the things was that you had to think of a moment in your life where you felt really, really proud of yourself. And the thing that came to me was me getting my artist visa to be in the States because it was so hard, because I got all of these rejections and because I didn't take these no's as an answer. I kept going. And what I've noticed is that every single success I've had in my life has come as a result of hundreds of rejections beforehand. I've recently gained 100,000 new followers on Instagram in just a couple of months. However, my first 100,000 followers on Instagram took me years. And the next 100,000 followers took me years of every single day thinking of creating, posting consistently for 6 years at this point. People have come to me being like, oh my gosh, your Instagram is thriving. Like you're crushing it, blah, 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 like it right now, which is amazing. Thank you so much. I'm grateful for people who are noticing, right? It's amazing. And that people who are liking my content. But what people don't see when we have these successes, whether it's me now being signed with Gymshark, or when I got with Wilhelmina Models, which I'll tell that story as well, or when I got my US visa, or now that I'm better financially off than I ever have been. It's all of the years that leads up to when that happens. Like the overnight successes is almost always a result of years and years and years of hard work, of rejections, of failing, of looking stupid. And I think that in order for us to succeed in any area of our life, we have to be willing to be that, to get rejected, to look stupid, to fail again and again and again. When I was in New York, I also reflected on the first time I visited New York, which was when I got signed with Wilhelmina Models. And that looked very cool, right? But what that was a result of, the reason that happened or how it came about was, let's say, was that like 4 years after I came to LA? I think something like that. Yeah. When I came to LA, I started modeling a little bit and I started to develop this dream of becoming a fitness model. And I really wanted to be with Wilhelmina Models. So I would apply to Wilhelmina Models and I would apply to all these other different modeling agencies. And I got with a couple of like small little agencies. And then a couple of years later, I was like, I'm doing this thing. I'm trying so hard, but it isn't really happening like in the way that I wanted to. I'm not really like fully succeeding. So I asked myself, I got honest with myself. What is it that these super thriving, successful fitness models are doing that I'm not doing? And I looked at my body compared to theirs and I was like, okay, I can see that there is some work to be done. And that's when that was a part of why I decided, okay, I'm going to really get in shape. I'm going to get in badass shape. And I completely transformed my body. And when I did that, I continued to apply to so many different modeling agencies, different modeling jobs. And I got rejection after rejection after rejection. And then one day, a year after, or even more, maybe it was a year and a half after I had made my full body transformation, I randomly get an email from Wilhelmina Models saying, we would like to meet with you. Are you able to come to New York to meet with us? And I was obviously like crazy excited. And I flew to New York, I experienced New York, and I met up with this model agent at the office in New York, and it was amazing. We got signed right then and there. Awesome. COVID hit, and I realized I started creating content, and I realized that I didn't have all this time to, first of all, there weren't as many auditions, but also I lived in Huntington at the time. I started getting very busy with my content creation. That was like started to become my biggest mission and purpose in life. And I wanted to prioritize that. So driving all the way to LA, which was like an hour and a half drive to go to one audition to then drive back, like it just wasn't worth my time. We ended up splitting up, but I was with them for a year. But that's not really even important. The important thing is to note that the reason I ended up achieving my goal, that I then realized, okay, this maybe isn't like the life path I want to go on, but the reason I got my goal was because I set the goal and I was willing to put myself out there and fail and try and look stupid and get rejected again and again and again And then suddenly the thing happened. Just like when I wanted to get my work visa to be able to live in the States. Same goes with my Instagram. As I said, it took me a couple of years to get to 100,000 followers on Instagram. And then same with YouTube. And for many, many years now, I've been kind of just stagnant. It's been like kind of just stagnant. But I've continuously showed up because I love it. I love showing up. I love growing. I love experimenting. And I want to succeed and impact people's lives more so than I am afraid of failing. And oh my goodness, have I failed along the way. When I started this podcast, I kid you not, I thought about it for, I don't know how long. It was probably a year maybe of starting it. And then when I started, it took me 6 months to actually like put out my first episode because I recorded like 10 episodes because the way I was speaking into the microphone was just like I couldn't just speak because, well, I just couldn't. It didn't come naturally to me. So I kept practicing. And then at one point I was like, okay, Pernilla, you just got to stop practicing as in private and just put something out there and you're going to get better as you go. And so I put my first episodes out there, and I'm sure if I listen back to my first episodes, some growth has happened because now I've been doing this for a couple of years and now I'm getting more and more used to it. So I've been willing to fail in order to get better at speaking. And I've really noticed, this is something I noticed as well in the Tony Robbins event, is that I have a dream of becoming a public speaker. And the more podcasting I do, the better I get at speaking. So me doing these podcasts is really setting me up for success in the future on public speaking, right? Like the more we do the things that we're not good at, just like me not being good at podcasting at first, not being able to become a badass fitness model, not being able to get my work visa, not being able to do all of these different things, the more I've been willing to fail and get rejected and be bad. And I'm saying these sentences on repeat because I'm thinking that the more I speak them out loud, the more you're going to be able to, in your mind, resonate to some degree with what it is that maybe potentially you have not been wanting to feel it or get rejected in or look stupid in. And that hopefully will help you challenge your norm to go do it anyway. And I know that if you're listening to this podcast, you're already doing it. I need to catch myself whenever I am afraid of getting rejected or fail, because that still happens often. But I have to remind myself of these things, say these things out loud to myself, that I have to be willing to get rejected and fail and look stupid in order for me to get better, to succeed within these different areas of my life that I want to succeed in. And if I had stayed where I was at, accepted where I was at, because it feels comfortable, right? It's not like we're in pain. It's not like, nothing happens if we just don't take action. We are not going to have to experience that discomfort of all of that failure and rejections. So we can be comfortable. But is comfortable really the life that we want to live? I could have easily gotten a free education in Denmark because university is free in Denmark and lived a comfortable, happy life there, because people who live in Denmark, they're comfortable and happy. But I wanted something different, and I was willing to put myself out there to do that, as I know you are in different areas that you're passionate about. And I think to succeed, we just have to be willing to do that, as in succeed on an outstanding level, which I have so many dreams and goals and desires that I have yet to accomplish and achieve. But I am more than willing to continuously get rejected to get there. And every single time I want something new in my life that I get committed to, I am aware that I need to, let's say it has to do with other people. I am very aware that I have to reach out to at least 10 people, 10 companies to get just one yes. And sometimes it's hundreds of people or companies to get that one yes. Like it was when I was trying to get my visa, agencies. I've wanted to get with Gymshark for years. I didn't know how to get connected with them, but I've definitely tried. And I think because I just continuously tried my best to create the best possible content to serve whoever was watching, at one point they noticed me. It's that thing of like, just get so great that they can't ignore you. And it was the same with the Wilhelmina modeling agency when that was what I wanted. It was like, because I'd worked so much on perfecting my physique, my modeling abilities, like the amount of photo shoots I'd done for free, like I spent money on doing to get to where I was, to be able to be noticed by them and them wanting to meet up with me and then them wanting to sign me. And same was with dance. It was like the amount of hours spent in those dance studios my entire life to get to where I wanted to go helped me get the opportunities that I then was able to get to succeed. And I ended up not fully pursuing my dance career because that's a whole nother topic I've talked about on my podcast, how I eventually realized that everything that I'm doing today, I started getting a bigger and bigger passion about. And as that passion grew, my passion for dance kind of lessened and lessened and lessened. And today I'm so grateful that I was willing to take that leap, make that transition, because I still have my dance friends, a lot of the people who I met when I first came to LA. And when I view their life, I'm so happy for them and all the ways in which they're thriving in. But that's not the life I want to live. And the life I am living is the life I want to live. And that was a massive fear of mine as well, of letting go of the thing I always had thought I wanted to do something different that I now had started to develop this massive passion within. And I'm hoping that this episode made you realize, reconnect with something that you have wanted in your life that maybe you stopped pursuing because you'd gotten those rejections, or you failed or was afraid of looking stupid in. That this episode was just the reminder you needed to continuously try again and again and again and again, and to never give up, because when you do, eventually it will pay off. If you have a gut intuition feeling, knowing that this is for you, maybe it doesn't end in the way you wanted or you thought it would. Like me going to LA because I want to pursue dancing, that then led to me wanting to pursue modeling, that then led to me doing the thing today. Like every single part of the journey was essential, was crucial to help me become the person I am today, to learn the exact lessons I needed to become the person I am today. Every single failure, heartbreak, challenging time was there to help me get to where I am today and continuously get to where I'm supposed to get to learn every single lesson and be able to impact the people's lives who I want to impact in this life. Every single step of the way was for a reason. And so sometimes us pursuing the goal, it's not the end destination that is the reason for it, but it is the person that we become on that journey. So if you have a knowing, an instant, an intuition feeling that you need to follow something in your life that you feel passionate about, there's a reason for it, and you gotta go for it. You gotta. And if you want to be with me on this journey as you work towards your goals, I'm running a December challenge, and you can also just join my community anytime you're listening to this episode and join any future challenges. I'm also running a massive January challenge. Join me. I have my workout program in there that can be personalized to whether you're working out from home or at the gym. I have an enormous amount of self-development tools that you can use and apply to really move you towards the things that you want, as well as weekly chats. The community is so supportive. We have all my recipes in there, nutritional guide, and just a ton of support and good vibe and good energy to help you not let the failures, the rejections, and the setbacks stop you from moving towards these things that you deep down want in your life, because you're more than capable and worthy. If you felt this was useful and you can think of a friend or a family member that you feel needs to listen to this, please share it with them. I'm trying to grow my podcast. I'm so passionate. I love doing these podcasts and I love speaking with you. I'm so grateful that you're listening. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe wherever you're listening so that we can continue to have more chats like this. Thank you for being here. And as always, remember that in order for you to grow, you have to challenge your norm. Bye.